We are very much a vehicle-dependent society, and that means most, if not all of us, have car insurance, considering it's state law, I guess. So how do you go about finding the right policy and the right protection? We have the attorneys at Cecil and Geiser. They are the experts at protecting people and fighting for their rights, especially following an accident. So here to share some of their expertise, we have Sydney McLafferty and J. Scott Bowman. I want to welcome you both to Daytime.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Scott, as much as we love our cars, we also like to save money. That is something people always look for. But when it comes to car insurance, is that really the place where you should sit there and kind of scrimp and save?
It is not. In Ohio right now, you have to at least carry liability insurance in the amount of $25,000 per person, $50,000 per occurrence. But that's only going to protect other people, not you, in the event that you are at fault.
Okay, so when it comes to it, explain that minimum liability insurance requirement. That's from the state actually tells you have to have that much, right?
Yeah, that's correct, Robin. That is what you have to have as a bare minimum. But it's not a good idea to have the bare minimum because in order to protect you and your family, you need to have additional coverages. The last time the state of Ohio checked in 2011, there are 1.1 million uninsured motorists out there. That equates to 1 in 8 drivers do not have insurance.
Okay, so Sydney, you have an actual insurance policy. Well, Scott does in front of him right there. That's a lot of pages, first of all. Is anybody going to go through and read that from front to back?
Well, most often they don't. And unfortunately, what we find is that people will call us and indicate, well, I have full coverage, so doesn't that mean that I'll be taken care of? And really, unless you sit down and look at the coverage that you've purchased, chances are you may not. You want to make sure that there's 3 things. Of course, you need the liability coverage. That's what's going to indemnify you if you cause an accident and take care of those that may be harmed by your accidents. But you also want to make sure that there's what's called uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage, and that is what protects you and your family in the event that you're hit by one of these drivers. 1 in 8, again, as being the statistic that doesn't have liability insurance to cover for their misdeeds.
Now, there's also, on top of that, medical payment. Is that included in what you talked about? Is that a separate thing you need to make sure you have?
It's also a different line item on your insurance policy, and you can look at just the top page, or it's usually very close to the top, or what your insurance company would send you with the renewal, listing out the coverages that you have. And the MedPay coverage is like health insurance, but with your auto policy. It's usually a smaller limit, and not only having it, but paying attention to the limit that you carry. You may have $100,000 of MedPay coverage that you're paying for, but if you have health insurance, that may not be best for you. So you really need to sit down and look at what you're buying, what you're getting for that money, when it applies, and then also look at the other coverage that you may have, like health insurance.
Have you ever seen, or do you guys have a perfect policy? Is there something that is a one-size-fits-all, or do we each need to go and look at what, our situation is?
I think it's an individual determination. Again, some people do have health insurance through their employers, others do not, so that's going to play a factor in whether or not this MedPay would be good, or maybe spending more money than you would need to otherwise. But again, you have to look at your personal circumstances, how much you can afford, but again, just know that statistic that 1 in 8 are driving uninsured, and that's we see it, on a daily basis.
You see it all the time, and the unfortunate part is a lot of times, and Scott, maybe you could talk to this a bit, people need to hire an attorney, right, when it comes to it. So when is that the case, and what can you do to help somebody?
Well, one of the things that I find is people are very hesitant to contact an attorney after they've been in a motor vehicle collision. It's almost as if they feel guilty. But the bottom line is, whether you're dealing with an at-fault driver's insurance company or your own, their job, that insurance representative you are dealing with, is trying to save that company money. And you're dealing with a very large corporation who's very knowledgeable in these matters, and they have teams of lawyers trying to protect that company and their assets. So our position is, doesn't it make sense and isn't it fair if you at least have one qualified professional in your corner to make sure that you are taken care of, because a lot of our clients have been catastrophically harmed, their lives turned upside down through no fault of their own. And they've been paying for this insurance coverage for years and years, and we're there to help them utilize that in the best way possible.
All right, so you are there. Your motto is protecting Ohio, so you're there to help people to look through this, make sure they have the right coverage, and then if something happens, help them deal with if maybe something, didn't go so right in their favor as well.
Right.
All right. Well, we have the phone number, we have the website up on screen for Cecil and Geiser, so I want to thank you both for being with me.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.